Good morning, this is Meteorologist Aaron Colby. Today we're tracking Subtropical Storm Nicole. You can see Nicole right here is beginning to separate out from that trough that it emerged from on Monday when it earned its name. Now, Subtropical Storm Nicole currently has maximum sustained wind speeds of 50 miles an hour as it begins to approach the Florida coastline. Now, I know the big question right now is what exactly is a subtropical storm and how does it differ from a tropical storm or hurricane? Now, subtropical storms are hybrid storms. They have the characteristics of both a tropical cyclone as well as your standard low pressure system that we get here in the U.S. when fronts move through. Now, they typically have a much larger wind field than what you'd expect from a tropical storm or hurricane. So I will show you here in just a little bit how that impacts a lot of areas that you'll see there's warnings out for a very large area, and that's thanks to that wind field. And of course, it may contain frontal boundaries within its core, as well as even on the outskirts of the storm. And this is simply just much more organized lines of thunderstorms than what you typically see with hurricane bands. Now, at the moment, Subtropical Storm Nicole is still a subtropical storm. It might begin to pick up more tropical storm and even hurricane characteristics as it approaches the Florida coastline. It is expected to become a Category 1 hurricane before making landfall somewhere on the eastern coast of Florida and then transition as a tropical storm maybe into the Gulf of Mexico before turning out north. Now, because it does have those subtropical characteristics, we will have to watch in our area, especially if it makes this close pass to our area. We can see some of the winds about 20 miles an hour, even all the way out in our area, since it does have that larger wind field. But here's the models at the moment. You do see there's a very narrow area that all the models are trending towards, and that's pretty good for us because that does mean that the models are in a lot of agreement here. There really isn't too much unknown, and that's really good because we can actually take a look at exactly where it's going to go. Now, most of the models do show it's going to be moving just south of the Cape Canaveral area before moving on land. Lots of models are pulling this a little bit further east, so we might not see it fully cross into the Gulf of Mexico. It may recurve before making it out towards waters again. That would be a best case scenario for us because then that's less likely to see those offshore winds up in Mobile. Now, because it does have that much larger wind field, we now have hurricane watches in effect, especially south of Cape Canaveral, where we're expecting those hurricane force winds. And then you can see tropical storm warnings as well as storm surge warnings going all the way up to South Carolina. That's because that larger wind field is going to allow for minor storm surge to occur on the Georgia coast and even all the way up into South Carolina. That's why this system is going to be something to watch, especially for a lot of people from Miami all the way up to about central South Carolina. We can see impacts that far out, tropical storm force winds and maybe even minor storm surge on the immediate coastline. Now, as for the Gulf of Mexico, just a tropical storm watch in effect right now, and that's because we saw that track. It might potentially move out into the Gulf briefly before moving back on land, and that's where we could see some of those tropical storm force winds impacting the Gulf of Mexico area. But at the moment, that's not a very big concern. The biggest concern is obviously going to be our hurricane force winds potentially impacting a lot of southern Florida. So if you got family or friends over there, let them know what's coming. Just a subtropical storm transitioning into a hurricane. Minor impacts will be seen pretty much most of Florida thanks to that very large wind field. And of course, the immediate coastline all the way up to South Carolina could see minor storm surge, maybe tropical storm force winds. But that's all we have right now. We'll keep you updated on this system as it progresses. And stay tuned for more. This is Meteorologist Aaron Colby. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.